Do you ever listen to the Diary of a CEO?
Yeah. Oh, I love Stephen Bartlett.
Yeah, he's done a great job. What about like less of a podcast and more of like Instagram, TikTok? What is it? The school of the Hard Knock School of Business. The guy who's like asks very fast questions. What's your thoughts? Like, do you watch him as well?
Yeah, I think he's awesome.
Yeah, and he's what, early 20s as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
I heard him say his ad revenue or his total revenue, whatever, whether it's true or not, I don't know, but I'm sure it's somewhat true, is over $10 million.
I believe.
And he has, I don't know, 10 million followers, at least on Instagram. Is that like somewhere in the back of your head a dream for you to be able to like get to that level?
100%. Something that I love that the School of Hard Knocks does is he took the experiences that he's learned from the most successful people. Is I remember, so you were alluding to the fact that I talked about on a solo episode that most people don't make it past episode 20. And a lot of my podcast as it goes on has been more geared towards guests, because in the beginning I was like, okay, I'm going to talk about mindset. But then I hit a point where I was like, who am I to talk about mindset? I'm 19 years old. So I was like, you know what? I'm very interested in business. I'm very interested in mindset as well and how those connect. So let me talk about the people that are actually doing the thing. So for me, in the same way that the School of Hard Knocks has been able to get people, he's used people's experiences, millionaires, billionaires, made videos on them, and he's able to monetize it. So I think that's a big inspiration for me.
I can tell you this: when I was in 2006, I was in law school. I was probably one of the first entrepreneurial. I started a podcast called True NYC, and I was interviewing. And YouTube had just came out. It was the first year of YouTube. You were just born, and I was you. And I started going out. I was in law school trying to figure out how to start my own business. And I ended up in law school because I was in sales for 5 years after I graduated college. I thought I was going to be an entrepreneur from day one. And I was just like, oh man, I guess I'm not going to be an entrepreneur. Let me get a career. Let me go to law school. I'll have a career at least, instead of being one sales job to the next. But then in law school, I was just like, I don't know. I still have that bug, but I'm not sure how to do it. I got married in law school. I got a camera for my honeymoon, like, basic camera, whatever. And I would go to people's offices and just do this. One of the people I interviewed early on was Simon Sinek. Do you know who
Yeah, I
he
saw
is?
that. Yeah, I saw that.
And he had just come out with it, the why, and I was like, this guy's freaking brilliant. And I mean, I knew he was going to be unbelievable. And I can tell you, all the success, so much of my success, if not all of it, came from, and for True NYC, I only did maybe 50 episodes. My current podcast, I've done over 100 plus already in the first year and a half, but I only did 50. Almost all my success came from that original podcast. What do I mean?
Mm-hmm.
One, I learned 5 themes of success, which I can share with you. And they're going to sound like cliches because that's what cliches are. But it was the network that I built from it, which is, of course, right now, we're now part of the same network. Before we started, I'll share it publicly because why not? You thank me for some of the things I said about Jews and what's going on. We're both Jewish, and it's an uncomfortable time, especially on college campuses right now. And I feel that for you. And I just think we have to like represent who we are and be authentic about it. And so when I met these people, I hadn't even started a business, and I was at a conference. I don't know if you've ever done this. I went to a trade show, and it was like a business trade show, and I was going from booth to booth. And this one guy represented this organization with hundreds of entrepreneurs in it. He says, if you want, you can come to my next board meeting and I'll send your name to every entrepreneur in this organization and you can interview them all. And this is really before it was like social media like it is now. I was like, hell yeah. So I did that, and I ended up interviewing dozens of entrepreneurs. Each one had to have a minimum of $1 million in revenue, but a lot of them had a lot more. I said, someday if I have a business, I'm definitely joining this organization. 2 years later, they had this accelerator program for small businesses under $1 million. I just started my business. It just qualified. I joined the organization. I loved it. I became a member really quickly, and I started moving up the ranks. I think within 10 years, maybe a little longer, I became president of that organization.
Wow.
One of the reasons is I'm like you. I can talk entrepreneurship. I can talk self-improvement, any which way back and forward, because I'm on a constant journey to growth. I wrote the book because I wrote 2 books already because you don't do it for money. I did it because there's something inside me that when I learn something, I cannot go to sleep until I share it with the world. I mean, my main business is an online education business for lawyers. So that's who I am. That's who most podcast hosts are. And I'm sure you fit that mold. And yeah, I wish I was Instagram hit with 10 million followers as well, but to break that code is much more difficult.
Yeah, actually, something interesting you said is you mentioned how you wanted to interview a lot of different people so you could understand how to start a business. Do you think that there was a big difference between you getting the information from somebody and actually implementing it?
Well, so I'll tell you the 5 themes that I got. And of course, there's a complete, it's night and day between learning and doing. And I'll see if I can remember them. And because we talked about, you said taking the leap, the number one thing that all different entrepreneurs said from all different walks of life was the most important advice was take action. Because most people talk about it, but don't take action. And then the number 2 thing was don't listen to the negativity of naysayers. Who do you think is the biggest naysayer in your life as a potential entrepreneur?
Yourself.
Okay, besides yourself.
Friends and family.
Why?
Because they're the closest to you and they want to see you do good, but they don't understand what you want to go through.
They want to protect you. And you're 100% right. Like most people don't get that answer that quickly. And what I learned from that is if someone's giving you advice and it's quote unquote negative advice, make sure they have done what you're trying to do and have some experience in that area because they may or may not be right. The third is you have to network. Running a podcast is networking. You're in college. It's amazing. I don't know. How many friends do you have that run a podcast right now?
Yeah, nobody.
Nobody. What do your friends think about what you're doing?
I guess they support it. They don't really know too much about it. I guess they're not too much into it, but they also don't really see the vision that I have. So I'm like, I don't know, for me, I love meeting new people. Like, even having this conversation with you is amazing. This is what I live for. I have my classes, I got work, but it's like, okay, I get to interview David like later today. This is gonna be awesome. I look forward to it. So that's the thing with that. It's I get to talk to people I'm very interested in, and also, maybe even get some advice. Like you've done the thing that I want to do. So
Totally. What's your major?
Marketing.
Got it. What's your vision for it?
To be honest, it's hard to say. I want to say that I want to get very involved and be very good at marketing to eventually help me get to the business because I think marketing is a big, important part of the business and I'm passionate about it. But I don't know. It's kind of hard to say.
You said your friends don't understand the vision of it.
Of the podcast.
Yeah. So what is the vision they don't understand?
Oh, I think just how much of an impact it's had not only on me, but the place I want to take it. So for example, for business, not only am I meeting people, but also I'm understanding the do's and don'ts of what people have gone through. And for people, like I have a lot of friends that are very interested in business, but again, they don't take action. They haven't really started anything. And they have so many things to say about so many different people. Like today, I was actually talking to one of my friends and he had to do some project on this company. And it was a company that was 100% like sustainable, made shoes, and then they switched to AI, and he was like mad about it. He's like, "This is stupid. This is bad for the environment. Like, I don't understand it." And I was like, again, it's not my place to say it, but at the same time, I'm like, you're not the one in charge. You're not the guy that's in the business. And actually, I had a guest one time on my show, and I was talking to him about how. So I did door-to-door sales last summer just because I knew it was gonna be very difficult, and I thought it'd be a good skill to have. So I was talking to one of my guests, and I told him like, yeah, he seems like my boss. He kind of doesn't pay too much interest in me. I'm always passionate with new ideas, and he's like, as much as you want to be mad at your boss, you don't know what he's dealing with. Like he has a lot on his plate as well. So it's like it's a really good way the podcast for me to be able to understand how different people think.
Another way of saying that is always assume the best intentions of the person on the other side, because you can't. To your point, you don't know what they're going through, and most of the time, it is a best intention, but you don't sort of if you assume the worst, like especially over text, like you can just misconstrue it. So and I was telling the themes of success, and I said network. I think the fourth was help others without wanting anything in return. Again, these are the basic things, fundamentals of life. And there was a fifth one that's sort of gone right now in my head.
It's okay.
But yeah, no, I appreciate what you're doing, especially talking to people more than twice your age, trying to soak in as much information as possible. It's a true unlock. I think potentially you can learn as much or more here than in some of your classes by diving deep.
Yeah, I think the first thing that I said, I might have worded a little bit differently because one of my worst fears is I'm getting so many amazing people that I speak to. I'm getting so much amazing advice, and a part of me is worried that I'm gonna have all of this in here, but when it comes to the actual business, like I'm learning about so many different parts of business, but not something in particular. So when I asked you the question originally, you said you were interviewing people to learn about business, and eventually, you're in business right now. A part of me is scared that it's going to be like all consumption and no action, if that makes sense.
I mean, totally, because you need to put in the reps. You don't put in the reps by learning. You don't put in the reps by writing a paper. You put in the reps by trying something and failing. And I'll give you an example. For the book, I went on a media tour on different news stations, and I had like 10 booked, and I had one interview process that was in person in Washington, D.C. I had a choice. I could either do it in the beginning or the end. And me being overconfident than I was like, I'll do it in the beginning. And I'm in New York City, so I had to take the train there. I went in person. It's a huge show. She told me before I started, she's like, I'm going to ask you a question. I might change it. I'm like, okay. She asked me the question. I start answering it. 45 seconds as I'm answering it, I realize I'm answering the wrong question, but I was already in it. And then she asked me one or two other questions. And before I know it, the interview's over. I didn't get to half the points I wanted to. I'm on the train ride back. I'm like, oh man. And I put together this 90-second reel from all my interviews. And when you look at the reel, it looks great. I was well prepared. I needed to do that because I was answering that first question like I had a 30-minute podcast, not a 3-minute interview. And so I was just like doing what I'm doing now. I'm over talking and not getting down to it. By the time I got to my 10th interview, I got it down to 25 seconds per answer. I knew exactly what they wanted to go. I was able to lead them there and able to have it down. And the reason I was able to do that is I put in the reps. Each interview, I messed up and I tried again. I messed up and I tried again. And so when you think about a business, like it's so interesting right now with AI. It's exciting and overwhelming all at the same time. Everyone's talking about one person, $1 billion business, blah, 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 all those different things. But it is easier than ever right now. And so what I would recommend you do, and I don't know how educated you are in the space, but it's not that hard it takes a weekend to really be ahead of 99% of the people. Where there's a big need right now is being a consultant and a coach for small businesses to get their entire team up to speed on AI, maybe Claude Code, Claude Cowork, and put together a systems and a process for them to sort of get that. Because everyone's like, I need to do this, but I don't know how to do it. So that's a pain point that I see being in the business world. I feel like you could probably try that as an example. Being with AI, service industries are really easy to start right now because the price of building software, zero. You can use Lovable. Do you know what Lovable is?
Yeah.
Good. So then there's other sites, Replit, there's, Claude Code with VS and other areas like that. You can build your own website today, right now, and look like an established player. That didn't exist a couple of years ago, let alone 20. So that's my advice to you is literally try to make money next year or this year. Because until you do that, you're not putting in the reps. I don't care what it is.
Yeah, that's a great answer.
But it's hard for you to, it's a great answer, but it's a great answer, but it's so hard to do in college. Like, right. You're just like, you got school, you got commitment, and so that's the struggle. And like, I always wonder, like, what's the point of, this is another conversation, but I interrupted you. So I'll let you go. And then I'll segue to another conversation out there.
Well, no, I was just going to mention that, kind of similar to what you're talking about, but I also think that's a problem. Like I'm in college now and I'm busy, but I also think about it after I leave college, I'm probably going to be even busier. So that's why I'm doing a lot of things right now. So I kind of understand that no matter, I guess, the the time of life that I'm in, I think I'm always gonna be busy. So it's best to just learn right now, which I'm trying. Like I'm keeping up with everything AI, or at least I guess you can't keep up with everything AI, but learning Claude Code, all these things, and it's super interesting. But yeah, it's interesting. Okay, good question for you. Do you think that if I was to start a business, it would have to replace the podcast, or I could do both simultaneously?
I think you can definitely do both simultaneously. I mean, I run uh, the largest online provider of education for lawyers. I also run a podcast. I think
Right.
to me, a podcast, and I think for you too, it's like, to me, that's just education. It's like you get somebody who, if you had to like have them teach you, might be $1,000 an hour, $500 an hour, give you information that your challenge as the interviewer is to figure out the right questions to ask. And that's the true skill today. You can have AI write whatever you want it to write, but critical thinking in an interview to really dig deep and get past, which I felt like was the first 15 minutes of this interview on my fault, not yours, of like I don't know, just I would call it level 1 answer, where it's just
Sure.
like at question, answer. I just get so bored by that. And I want to get to level 2, level 3, level 4. And that to me is what a podcast is for. And I actually think, like I just said, you can shift the podcast, right? I want to start a business. Help me start a business. And that's the next 10 episodes. I don't know. But back to what I said before in my book, The Fast Forward Mindset, you have to make a commitment, and I'll share. You have to set a date to do something. You know who Jerry Seinfeld is?
Yeah.
One of the best comedians that were there, and obviously he's been very successful. When he was an early comedian, he asked one of the elders, he's like, "What would you recommend? And like how I write jokes? What's the best way to do it?" And he said, instead of like doing what most comedians do, where they spend one day a month and write all their jokes, write 3 jokes every single day, but never stop writing those jokes every single day. I started picking up that philosophy because what happens is you start focusing on not breaking the chain of doing it daily. LinkedIn is a good example where if you, my goal, and I was on vacation, I didn't do it for a while, but is to do a LinkedIn post every weekday. And what happens is on Wednesday, when I have no sort of passion or energy, I'm not sure what to do, and I'm afraid I won't get enough likes, I have to write a post. And so I focus less on the likes and more on putting that out there. And that's just the way I think about business. It's small commitments every day, not to break the chain. The hardest part, and I'm sure this is your thing, is you don't have an idea. If you had an idea and you were passionate about the idea and you saw a pain point, you would do it. And so that's sort of the area where people get like go in circles.
Right. Yeah, I actually, so November of last year, I wrote a book as well, like a short little book. It's called Talk
Yeah.
Deeper. It's kind of like,
Congrats, man.
thanks. Thank you. I appreciate it. So it's one of those things where I saw the pain point, but when I kind of think about it, I feel like from what a lot of my guests tell me, if you're going to make it like a B2C business compared to B2B, the B2B, especially if you're a consultant, typically pays a lot more. So for me, it's been interesting because I'm trying to think about the idea of having better and deeper conversations, but bring it to the workforce, but then having the business actually want to pay me for the consulting, because you can't say it's super interesting with consumers. You say, hey, listen, you want to have better conversations. This is the answer. If they're interested, they buy the book. But with businesses, like, okay, but if we buy the book, what is it going to do for our employers? How is it going to save us money? How's it going to make us money? So I've just kind of been thinking about areas in that domain.
Thesis in the book. How do you do that? How do you
It's kind of,
deeper conversations?
yeah. So I just used, I guess, first of all, my experiences in the podcast and talking to people. A lot of friends that I have will tell me that there's somebody that they feel like they can trust on. So I made the book, the thesis of it kind of builds on it. So the very beginning is a curiosity. I feel like curiosity is a prerequisite to having a good conversation because, when it comes to being a professor in school, whatever, people are not interested. So they tend not to have good conversations. Then from there, I'll go by my chapters. It's about curiosity, listening. Then I talk about something I call the hidden door, which is a lot of times in conversations, people will say something that you might not pick up on when they want you to talk about something. So for example, if I say, you're like, hey, Elon, how's your day? I said, David, it was not the best. Like some people just don't pick up on those things. That's kind of the door, the metaphor. So that was chapter 3. Then chapter 3.5 is the bridge of vulnerability. I feel like vulnerability is a big thing where if you could be more vulnerable, people tend to trust you more and you have better conversations. Chapter 4 is building emotional safety with people. Then 5 is the actual mindset of meaningful connection, which is kind of everything combined. 6 is just turning everyday encounters into meaningful moments. 7 is becoming memorable. And then 8 is just expanding your world through connection.
And did you use AI to help you write the book?
I did not. So I used AI to give me a framework of like, input a bunch of things, but it's not made by AI.
Got it.
Yeah.
Well, how is it going to survive with the tsunami of AI? Like, I think every day you're in school, I think you're falling behind of what's going to be happening, and you can learn more through AI and use it in your everyday. And in school, like you're like, oh, don't you? I don't know how it is there, but like it is transforming how we work, how we do things. Every profession is like lawyers are our customers. The whole profession is changing. Our developers don't write code anymore. The whole industry of like learning how to write code is changing. Like everything is changing so quickly. And in school, like, I don't know what, 60% or 50% of your classes are required on almost like you're still in high school. And it's just sort of like very theoretical where AI is like doing it. And so I struggle with the cost of education versus the ROI. And so I guess my 2 cents is, from my experience, what you're doing is the most important thing. What you're doing by writing a book about relationships and diving deep into that, like that's just so rare in the work in general, especially at 21 years old. So that's how I think about that. And I think it's a different way of expression versus where most people. I mean, are you on TikTok? Are you doing a lot of? Because that part's hard too. Creating good and quality videos, is that something you focus on?
Instagram or on TikTok. Yeah, I try to.
And
Short form.
is that because you're in marketing, right? So like, are you like using CapCut and other things like that? Or are you like 5 levels above that? I don't know.
Yeah, I used to use CapCut. Now I tested a lot of different variants, and I've noticed a lot more success actually when I post it from Instagram, like the native platform. I used to be very focused on making sure I got my videos on Instagram, YouTube Shorts, and TikTok, but now it's been me more focused on Instagram, and I've noticed that my views have been a lot higher and my conversions as well. So I've optimized my Instagram now less to my podcast and more for my goal of being able to help people with conversations, and it's been working pretty well.
Well, that's another area you can have a business at. Like tons of businesses and entrepreneurs and individuals and authors don't have the time to do that. If you can figure out how to do that and use AI to sort of optimize that, I don't know if that's a passion of yours.
To do like what exactly? Sorry to interrupt you.
To run, for example, to run my social media and to do video and to do my videos and to help me build a following and to make me look cool and all the other things that you do for yourself. Sure. There's a ton of opportunity for that. And of course, again, most people who run podcasts, you're in college, so it's different. But let's say they're usually like a coach, and they use their podcast almost as a way for lead gen. So their guests are potential clients. They're not selling them, but that's sort of, they're giving them exposure to who they are. And so that's another source of why people do podcasts.
Yeah. Is a lot of your success in business just being able to scale your systems that you can like repeatedly do without having to like manually?
Yes, there is a book called Scaling Up that I read. I started reading in 2008, 2009, and I tried to implement it on my own. I failed miserably. I then hired a coach. We started paying this coach over time, $70,000 a year plus, wow, who worked to build the systems and processes and structure in our organization that allowed me to get out of the day-to-day and focus on the future and the vision, and allowed a structure of the team to do the day-to-day. That's, realistically speaking, is what allowed me to move to Barcelona, because The business was not, I was still very active, but it wasn't reliant on me. The first 5 years, I was the hub, and all the spokes were coming to me. And in all fairness, like I am like a typical like ADHD person who like just, I procrastinate. I need my dopamine rush to do different things. I was not the right person to be a hub, because the decisions would just sort of back up to me because they were like mundane, basic decisions that I didn't care about. So that, yeah, out of survival, I had to scale the business in the right way.
Yeah.
My weakness became my strength.
Yeah. That's interesting. I'm reading a book right now called E-Myth. It says pretty similar stuff about like systems.
Okay. The E-Myth is the classic first book that was classic entrepreneur book. It's the first book that was given to me when I was starting my business, and it transformed the way I think about business. And I don't know, how far into are you?
Probably 3/4.
Yeah. So it's a story about your like Sarah the baker is passionate about baking. So she starts a bakery. By very soon thereafter, she's not doing any baking anymore, and she's doing all the crap of running a business. And the power of E-Myth, which to your point is the same thing. It's about working on your business, not in your business. And that is the classic that every entrepreneur needs to read to just get a sense of what that was. And I've always remembered that and use that to this day.
Yeah. It's been really good teaching me just that's something I never thought about. I always hear people talk about like, yeah, businesses, systems, etc. But the book is formatted in such a great way for me to be able to understand it.
It's a story, right? So everyone can understand the baker who can't bake anymore. And then the person who thinks they're an entrepreneur, but they're really an employee of their business because they can't move away from it. So 100%. The other book that transformed my life was Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Have you heard of that?
Yeah, that's one of my first books that I read, I remember.
Yeah. It's just unbelievable, right? And I actually recently reread it. And now being more successful in a different path in my life, it actually had a completely different meaning for me. And it was as relevant for me to get me through the next phase. And the way life works, and this is what the fast forward mindset is, you break through your comfort zone, you get to the next level, and then you hit the next one and you break through that. And ultimately, whenever, as you know this, whenever you hit the goal that you were trying to hit, it's so much less satisfying than you expect it to be.
Yeah.
Because it's just like you're that, like you passed the finish line of the marathon, great. Like, but it was the training for the marathon and the journey and the running. And these are all cliches, but it's so damn true. And as an example, like working out, you either make it a lifestyle and enjoy it, or you go in and like work hard. I don't know, like I need to get to 10 pounds in muscle and this and that. Or you just like, this is who I'm going to be. And I enjoy the 45 minutes that I'm here. Another book, do you know Atomic Habits?
Yeah.
James Clear. He was actually recently, I don't know if he was recently a guest on Diary of a CEO, but I recently listened to that episode and I read that book too. And do you know what the book's about?
Yeah, I mean, just habits,
You
little
read
over
it?
time. Yeah, I read it. Yeah.
Look at you.
I got a lot of books. I actually read those books, I promise.
No, that's great. I'm going to send you both my books. That's
Okay,
my
awesome.
gift for you. And they're short, easy reads. And I would love your opinion on, especially the fast forward mindset. But I'll tell you a book you probably haven't read. If you have, it will be your handbook to entrepreneurship. And no, it's a self-improvement. It's called Arete, Arete. Let me see if I have it here so you can see what it looks like.
Okay, interesting.
I've read a lot of books. So the way I read this book, because it's so dense, and each 2 pages is a new lesson. I read it. I bought the book on Audible. I listened to it, I think 1.5 times speed, maybe even 2 times speed. But I read along, and then I underlined, and I did all this, and then I typed all the notes up, and I'm still working through it. You can, if you have one book that you need for the rest of your self-improvement life, that's it. So most people don't even know. I mean, it's got a good following, but it's not, I don't think it has the level of notoriety that it should.
Why is it your handbook?
He has 451 lessons and guides and stories in there. And the reason he has 451 is 451 degrees is what it takes to turn to light a fire. 450, you ain't lighting anything. So it's 451, and it overloads on information. And I thought of the fast forward mindset because as I was reading it, I was like, oh my God, these 3 chapters are essentially my book. And he has like 100 more. One of the things that really related to me in the book where I want to continue to grow is the phrase anti-fragility. Have you ever heard that phrase before?
Yeah, it's like getting stronger when you break, or you explain.
It's sort of like doing the tough things makes you stronger. Like most people move away from the tough things, right? He has a phrase called ohms. Obstacles make me stronger. And that is a key thing to keep repeating to yourself, because most people spend their life moving to the comfort. They want comfort. We strive for comfort. And anti-fragility is that. And the book is about, Arte is about like, it's how do you get to your optimal, exceptional life? And the whole purpose and the essence of the book is like our journey is trying to get from who we are to where we want to be. And that's how we live our best life, going through that journey. And everybody's usually frustrated because they're not where they want to be or whatever, but that's it. Like that journey of excellence. And there's a quote in the book by Abraham Maslow. Do you know who he is?
He's like, I know Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Psychologist.
I mean, I'm not even trying to stump you, but I love that you know everything. So
I'm trying.
I might have to work. I might have to hire you to do something. So hierarchy of needs, right? Like, so you need water, food, safety, shelter. He said another quote of his, and I'd love to find it exactly, but he's like, though, if you do not do what you are destined to do, what you are meant to do, you will live a life of misery. And the thought process is, so many people know inside what they're capable of, but they're too fearful or unable to do that. I'd be one of them. I know I'm capable of so much more than I'm doing right now. And there is fear. I can't even really kind of put it to words, except that I use the term, there's a movie, I don't know if you ever heard of Bronx Tale, the movie with Robert De Niro. The favorite line is, they're talking about like, whatever. The worst thing in life is wasted talent. And I think about that all the time. I mean, with everybody, myself, is like, are you utilizing your talent to the most? And like, that excites me. For some people it doesn't, but that gets me energized. And so for you, that's what I think about the podcast. That's how you explore if you're wasting your talent. Like, that's your experimental zone. You could be literally like, I don't know, I guess in college you don't do Minecraft. I don't know what you do, but you could be hanging out with friends and having fun right now, drinking or doing whatever. It's Thursday towards the end of the day, but here you are on a podcast with the blue lights in the background. I don't know. I just think that's special.
I appreciate it. Well, I am having fun. I want to reassure you, David.
Fair enough.
I'm having a good time. Yeah, those small insights are so powerful. And even so, in the beginning, you mentioned that, I was like, yeah, what do you want to talk about? And you said, I don't know, you just want me to leave and feel, more energized. And it's so interesting you said that, because I remember I had a podcast guest. His name's Gary Schoniger. And after I talked to him, I felt so excited and I was so just optimistic. I was like, I'm going to measure my podcasts for this. It's like, how do I feel after the episode? Like, I love to just hop out of my seat after the call and be like, wow, like just think about it for the rest of the day. That was cool. So it's like, genuinely from that on my heart, thank you for all the tips, for all the advice. It means so much. And even, I feel like as an entrepreneur, for you, like you have an easier time being optimistic and saying, oh yeah, this idea, like, cool, go for it. As opposed to like 99% of the people I talk to, it's always, there's something there. It's like, I can't do this because X, Y, Z. And for me, I'm like, dang, it's unfortunate.
Do you have an idea of something you would want to do as a business in the next few months? Or next year, or senior year, or the summer?
I'm gonna say, I'm gonna say no. I think one of my things that's huge is the whole idea of communicating. So when I was in middle school, I actually had social anxiety disorder, so I had a really hard time speaking to people, and I kind of built myself up and got better speaking to people, and now it's something that I love to do. So I really want to help people do that because, you know, I've always felt really bad for quote unquote like weirder people or maybe people that aren't able to speak to people because
Yeah.
it's like those people have so many amazing things inside of them, but the society just negatively reinforces them. You know, it's hard for them to make friends. So I don't.
I recently read a book called Built to Serve, and in the book, it's one says we're all built to serve, and it says where you serve best is the pain point that you went through and
Mhm.
overcame, and you want to help other people. And so that's what I just heard you say. And when I realized, and I went through that for me, my pain point has been being driven, but also feeling stuck. But even though I feel stuck, and this is what you said in the beginning, I'm still able to move from thinking about something to actually living it. I can move abroad. I could start a business. I could write a book. I can write another book. And so my purpose is to help driven people who feel stuck move from thinking about it to actually living it and doing it. And that's what gives me energy. And I think everybody feels stuck somewhere. So like, that's how I serve what I do. And we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I think it is a big thing because for me, it's a lot of, you know, imposter syndrome, me being younger. It's I guess it kind of just comes with it. But like the book has been a really good way for me to be able to express myself, you know, and also something you talked about, like you don't make that much money as an author, right? People buy my book, oh cool, like I'm happy they bought it. But the reality is I just want to be able to help people. And that's one thing that I'm very thankful for my podcast where I have guests who've had you know, books and they're saying, oh, you know, you should try doing this. I had a guest a couple of episodes ago and he said, have you ever tried Amazon sponsored ads? Like I remember I was getting 50 sales a month and now I'm getting 1,200. So I was like, let me give it a try, right? So it's like these small things where without your guys' help as a whole, it would be so much
Did it
harder.
work? It's not that easy though, right?
It's not that easy, but you know, it was an interesting idea because for me, like I've been running my book on like meta ads and I've been doing like organic marketing. So I'm trying these different things. And for me, Amazon sponsored ads is something different. So I give it a try.
How did meta work?
Not the best.
Yeah, it's tough. Look,
Yeah, it is tough. It is tough.
I'll leave you on this because I know it's time to probably wrap up. Is Jeff Bezos gave a quote when his philosophy, which I try to run my business and my life on. He said, life and business and ideas are not linear, meaning in baseball, you get up on the plate, you can either hit a single, a double, a triple, or a home run. He goes, in life, every so often when you get up to bat and you try an idea, you'll have an outsized return. You'll have 1,000x return on that at bat because you can. However, probably 99 other times you'll have a single, a double, or a strikeout. And he goes, even though you're going to have a strikeout or a single 99 other times, it's still worth doing those 99 times for that one time to get that 1,000x return. And so that's how I think about it. And in the book, Arete, there's another part. It's an amazing thing that I say all the time now. When you watch a movie and they film the movie, what is it called? They do a mistake, retake. So a mistake is like they do a new shot, they do another shot, and he goes, now I'm butchering it, but essentially a mistake is just do it again. It's a mistake. Do another take. And it just kind of reframes that because a mistake and, you know, all those other areas are things that I have to keep telling myself every single moment of every day because I'm trying to get to where I should be in my excellence. So with that, try to get that 1,000x return, the Jeff Bezos, but don't be afraid that 99 out of 100 won't be that, but no, it's somewhere there.
I love it. David, where can people find you at?
LinkedIn is the best place. David Schnurman, and I post there all the time too. You want to see who I am and what today. I think yesterday I posted about coffee machines. The day before I posted about saunas. Today I posted about something called the Judy Project, which is in honor of my mom. And the goal, by the way, you should do this. So I'll leave you on this. The Judy Project, a year before my mom died, and she died unexpectedly. My son and I interviewed her about her life. And that became one of the most cherished gifts that we had. And we didn't expect that to be. The Judy Project is to not you think about someday I'm going to get this recording with my dad and my mom, is for you to do this podcast with your parents today. It doesn't have to be public, but you to get on with them and record them and have these deep conversations with them. Because not only will you learn something about their past that you didn't know, you're going to have that forever. And I'm not saying they're going to probably live another 30 plus years or whatever it is. That is something you should do, especially being the interview that you are. And you haven't done that yet, I assume.
No.
So the way you can do that without making anyone feel uncomfortable, go to thejudyproject.org, right? You can see the interview. Say, I just interviewed this guest. I'm probably around your dad's age, who told me about the mission of the Judy Project. And they're trying to get 1 million people to record their parents by Mother's Day. So can we do this for the Judy Project? This way you don't make anyone, you're like, it's not about me doing it for you. I'm just trying to help this. And I'm telling you, that will be your favorite interview that you've ever done.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. And they'll see your
That's
skills.
awesome. Yeah, right. David, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. To all my listeners, thank you for listening, and I'll see you next Tuesday.